Hello, good day, and thank you very much for joining me. There is something I want to address quickly, and it's got to do with the Ghana Amputee national team. So, the Ghana Amputee national team is basically a team made up of Ghanaians who have been amputated either at the limbs or legs and with the hands, and they have been put together to form the Ghana Amputee national team. It's been the most consistent national team over the years, the most consistent national team in the last 15 years. They have won the African Amputee tournament. That's the AFCON in terms of Amputee division. They have won it around 5 times, and they are currently the defending champions of that tournament. This is the team recently celebrating their title in Egypt when they won the trophy in Egypt I think 2 weeks ago. The team has been neglected. And let me be frank. When you go to nations that are prospering in terms of advancement, in development, there are minority groups that they prioritize. Women, vulnerable people, children, trees, animals. When you travel to the Western countries, these are things that they do not in any way try to demean. And they have special protection for such vulnerable and minority groups. And I see the reason why such countries prosper. It is not with Ghana. And I'm speaking out of pains because the Ghana Amputee national team has over the years been the most consistent national team on the continent. They have beaten virtually every national team constituted in the Amputee division across the globe, especially on the continent of Africa. There have been instances where they have qualified for the Amputee World Cup and not gotten money to attend. I start by going back to Tanzania. That was 3 years ago when the Amputee national team from Ghana traveled to Tanzania to win the African Amputee Championship way back in Tanzania. And when they won the trophy, even though it has been sanctioned by government, they traveled there without return tickets because the government had assured them that they will put together money for their trip. But it was getting closer for the commencement of the tournament, so they flew there on the benevolence of individuals and donors, hoping that the government will advance money to them in Tanzania. Nobody called them, nothing was heard of them. So they booked or reserved only one-way ticket to Tanzania. And after the tournament, at the end of the tournament in Tanzania, when they had won, they were stranded in Tanzania for more than 4 days because the government had not advanced the money to them. And even though they had won the trophy, they were still stranded in Tanzania. It took the might of some of us to speak to them in Tanzania. They called me personally, and those of you who can check on Twitter, I had to go on Twitter to put up a post to try and ginger support for them before the government advanced money for them to be flown back. And when they returned, the trophy was presented to the minister and they were given $2,000 as bonuses for winning all their games. So what I'm saying is that it is a national team, just like any of the national teams. But I feel for them because they are special people. These are people who would have ordinarily been on the streets. And I know a couple of them personally. They had no jobs because this is a country where once you are, we call them disabled. Once you are in such condition, even getting employment, regardless of your knowledge and expertise, will be difficult because buildings are not disability friendly. Offices are created without any intent of employing people of that nature. We forget that any one of us can become a disabled person, in quotes, like them. So if we have accepted and sanctioned them as a national team, let's treat them as such. I even believe that they deserve much more respect and special treatment because of the special kind of people they are. I am ranting because they played in the AFCON in Tanzania. They were stranded. It took Twitter rants and media pressure and backlash for government to realize that they have sent a national team out of the country, and the people have been stranded because they are not getting return tickets back, despite the fact that they were winners of the competition they participated in, best in Africa. They were flown back. They participated in the Paralympics, that is the Olympics for the para people, or the disabled as we call them here, the special people. They won the trophy without losing a game, the African Paralympic Games. They beat Morocco, a well-funded team, and despite government sanctioning and approving their budget since September last year, they have not been given a dime. Nothing. They have come back and gone to Egypt this year to participate in the Africa football for amputee, that is AFCON for amputee, and won it unbeaten. They've beat Tanzania, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, all the well-funded teams on the continent. These people are so neglected, but it is apparent that they are very talented. God has given them special talent, regardless of their conditions, and they are exhibiting that kind of talent to make use of it, to maximize what they have in terms of talent, to feed their family. Nobody is saying that they should be catered for, but once we have assembled them and sanctioned their national team as a state supported or a state funded national team, let's do well. These are people whose budget should never delay, because if you leave them, one of them was telling me that they would have stopped playing for the national team, but for the fact that even when they return to their homes, they will be going back to the streets. But for the West and the whites, their talent would have gone waste. Somebody have created the opportunity. Somebody has sat down as a country to create the opportunity for people like that to play football. Look at them. Look at them. Look at the way and manner they play with their clutches. And they are the best on the continent for over 15 years. Some of us media people have not been fair to them, because we don't speak for people like that, minority groups like that. We don't speak for them. Why have we allowed the Ministry of Sports to neglect them? They have gone to win the AFCON, returned not a peswa. And the saddest aspect of it is that before they went for the tournament, the jerseys that they are wearing with the Ghana flag in there and their names at the back was bought in the market. Somebody had to go to the market to get them Ghana jerseys in shops, not original jersey. How good and how honorable will it be that Puma sponsors the Black Stars? They have so many jerseys that, okay, these people are only 12 in number, only 6 of them can start a game, plus the goalkeeper. Why can't we have the Black Stars jerseys? Just put 15 on top of it for the Ghana Amputee football team, just to make them happy at least. These are people who are trying to make themselves happy by serving the country and maximizing the talent that God has given them. These are the people. And we end up treating them like they don't belong to the class of human beings. How much are we going to invest in people like this to give inspiration to kids who are going to be in such conditions, to give inspiration to people on the street to know that, oh, if we are disabled, if you cut your legs or limbs, that is not the end of your life. You can be traveling around the world representing your team. If you love football, these were guys who were playing football. Some of them got accidents. Some of them they were unfortunate to be in situations where their limbs and legs were cut or amputated, and now they are serving their country. But at the end of the day, the treatment we met out to them is quite unfortunate. Pay them. 2 competitions, 2 African competitions, the Olympic Games and the Para Games and the AFCON. They have gone there. Not a single day where they called that your per diem is ready. Take $20 for representing the country. Meanwhile, this is an approved competition. All the nations that came were state funded. All the nations that came were state funded. They were in hotels with Tanzania and Algeria and Morocco, and they know what they went through. Every day Ghana doesn't have money. Every day people are stashing cash. The things that we should prioritize, because our children can fall into such conditions? What will be the inspiration to them when they watch television, seeing these people displaying their talent and say, oh, we can also do this. We don't need to be locked up in rooms because we are amputated or because we are disabled. I traveled to South Africa in 2014, and at the airport, large crowds. It was on the opening day of the African Championship. That's the CHAN. The local championship reserved for the continental leagues, the leagues on the continent. The South African sports minister then, Fikile Mbalula, was at the airport. And I was asking someone, why is the minister at the airport when there is a kickoff for the opening ceremony of the CHAN? I read the next day in a South African daily that the minister had said at the airport, I had passed, he was meeting 2 South African amputee tennis players, wheelchair tennis players. They had gone to Australia and won bronze. And he feels that that is a major achievement for the country than going to be at the opening ceremony of the CHAN. And he explains, you understand that these are people who prioritize special needs of people. Come to Ghana, and the Ministry of Sports says there's no money to pay the amputee team. But there's money to pay people who are professionals, who play for money at their clubs. And when they come, money is readily available. I don't want to compare them to any national team, but it is very nauseating and provocative that we do this to these people. I speak for people like this, not because I don't have anything doing, but I want posterity to be there for me one day when I also fall into a minority group, people who don't have voices, children, women. We don't do well in this country. We don't do well. Leadership has failed us completely. I will appreciate. I was at the airport. I've gone to the airport, and Openso, their captain, can attest. I spoke to them when they were in Tanzania, and they said somebody gave them my number that I can help them get back to Ghana. They've been stranded for 4 or 5 days after winning the AFCON for amputee in Tanzania. The ministry had assured them that they will send them money to travel. The ministry's money did not arrive on time, and they had to go in time to meet the commencement of the competition. So what did they do? They went around begging for money and traveled to Tanzania. They won the trophy after 2 weeks, and they were still there because the ministry had not even gotten in touch. It is not because they have won any major trophy. What they have won is not too extraordinary. I understand you if you don't understand what I mean. It is not an achievement that should enchant the whole country because we don't even care about them, and I understand you. It is not something that we have not done before, so why are you ranting? I understand you. But look, these are people with special needs. These are people who we should really, as a country, cater for. These are people we should be looking out for as a country. If we really care, these are people that once we place the trust, once we treat them specially, the entire system of the country will start to advance because you treat special people with special treatment. That's why when you go to Europe, dogs, cats, trees, things that do not matter here, women, children, they are the topmost. Those who are strong enough to defend themselves are not put on the same pedestal or on equal grounds like the people who are vulnerable. Very pained because there is nothing that makes these people happy. Nothing. They are representing their country. The jersey they are wearing was bought in the market because we cannot even provide 12 jerseys to this team. 12. State cannot provide. The ministry cannot. They are not under the GFA, so it is not a responsibility. But if I were the GFA president, I would take it upon myself that we have an amputee team that plays football. Even though they are not under GFA, I will plead with Puma that we add just 20 sets of jerseys to what we print for the Black Stars every year for the amputee team. How much would that cost? But we don't care about important things in this country. It hurts me. It hurts because they have been in Ghana now. No per diem for them when they were in in Egypt when they won all their games. No per diem for them, no winning bonus, nothing. They just went there to represent the country, won the trophy, post for pictures. Then the Ministry of Sports tweeted this picture. They tweeted this picture to commend them. They were flying the flag of Ghana in Egypt. All the countries that came were flying their respective flags. They came state funded fully. The Ghana team was there, and somebody that I know had to go to the black market to change $2,000, give it to the team for their first 10 days, and so $2,000 for their meals. Imagine what they've gone through in there. If I were a presidential aspirant, I would have invited them and make a very big statement. I understand Dr. Baumia has said in his campaign that he's going to provide for the needs of people like this to get free education. I understand John Dramani Mahama has also made these promises in the past. But I'll be looking forward to who takes these things into action. I am in the sporting field, but the way we treat them there is embarrassing. We demean them. I don't want to put out so many stories, but some of these people on flights, the way they pack them in vehicles, I'm sure that they would have done so on flight if it was possible. They pack them in smaller vehicles and taxis to go to the airport because they don't have money. We don't care about anything in this country. We don't care. We don't prioritize anything important in this country. We don't prioritize anything that is important. Only people who are full of themselves, leadership, going about throwing their waste. We don't have money. We have $60 million to renovate a hostel that is leaking. We have $3 million for Wi-Fi just to organize African Games. $3 million. Look at where the money is going, not into areas that is important. Corruption is really deadly. But I would prefer that even if you are being corrupt, at least $20,000, $30,000 can cater for the stay of this team throughout the entire tournament and pay their bonuses, and they will be okay. $2,000, $1,000 for them winning the AFCON. Not because it is a big AFCON, but if you invest in people like this, you are investing in a whole lot of inspiration for other people. It's sad, but they have to pay them. If anybody watches this and they can send to the Minister of Sports, the Finance Minister, and whoever matters at the National Sports Authority, I am sad terribly. I spoke to two of them this morning, and they said they would want to quit. But Obama, if we stop, you say and form a national team. Say no more treaty for all the years. But if we stop, Obama, what are we going to do? We go to train. We train on our own. We buy boots, everything we buy, because we want to represent Ghana. And so when we are about to go, we go around some offices and people who have seen the need to help us, and they give us money for tickets. Even though we are a national team, Ghana Amputee Football Tournament, and we have registered this as a state, or all the international organizations, that it belongs to Ghana. Yet when they travel, Ghana government approves, sanctions their budget. Nothing is paid to them, and the budget is at the Ministry of Sports and Finance Ministry. You never know where the millions of dollars in sports goes. But I stand with these people. I hope that we get a leader who is listening to call them as soon as possible and pay them their Para Games bonuses for leaving their families and coming to stay in camp and playing for Ghana, winning it against Morocco of all teams who are well funded. They've gone to Egypt to beat Algeria, Morocco again, and Egypt to win the trophy. And we are happy. We post it on the ministry's social media handle. We cannot give them just $30,000 for the entire team. Even if it is $100,000 1 year. They've gone to AFCON, all of them with their coaches. Spend $100,000 on them so that they can prepare. They don't even have jerseys. What am I talking about? Such a shameful way for a country to treat some of its most special citizens. Thank you.